Hey guys, how are things? I'll just share my screen with you there so that we can all be looking at the same thing. And I'll make sure I have audio sharing because there will be some videos in this as well. Yeah, audio should be sharing on that as well. So, what I'll be talking to you today about is putting digital into outreach using modern media to highlight the past. And I'll just give you a little bit of a run through of 1 second there now. My slides have stopped working. Oh, okay, they're working again. So the plan for today is, first of all, we're going to do a little bit of an introduction. That's now, so we're going well so far. Basically, the idea of this is to get the fear out of putting out content, get the fear out of putting out anything digital into the world. People always come across a little bit of a fear with this. And I always like to break it down in terms of that this is just storytelling. It's what archaeologists are doing anyway. You're telling stories about the stuff that you find. You're telling stories about the sites that you're on. You're telling stories about the stuff that you're researching. That's exactly what this is. Now, that can be transferred into different ways of storytelling. It can be storytelling about your business. It can be storytelling about the reports that you're writing. It can be storytelling about a talk that you're giving, anything at all. But it is effectively just storytelling, and there's no need to be afraid of it because you are telling your story, really. Then we're going to break into social media for archaeology, why it's effective, how it's effective, and why it is essentially necessary for an archaeology company or archaeology brand in the modern era, or for any brand in the modern era, really. Then I'm going to do a little bit about long form versus short form content for archaeology and which would be best, and statistically which one is working. Talk a little bit about my video and documentary production. I do a lot of work for Red River Archaeology Group in that, so we'll talk a bit about that. The role of podcast and audio content in archaeology, blogs, collaboration and influencer strategies, and how that can work for archaeology. And then we're going to talk a little bit about story maps, how you can use old school outreach to reach a modern audience and still do that old school approach, but make it more modern. How to measure your digital outreach success, and then what equipment and techniques you can use for this. And then we'll roll into a little bit of a Q&A at the end, and hopefully I'll get to chat to you about any questions you have. So who am I? Why am I here? My name is Luke Barry. As mentioned, I work for Rubicon Heritage and the Red River Archaeology Group, and I am a digital marketer and a filmmaker. My background is actually in filmmaking and documentary production and what's known as ENG production. So ENG production is external news gatherings. So that's when you're outside of a studio setting and you're out in the world talking to people, getting various clips from them about what they're doing and turning it into an interesting piece of content. It's what I think is the most effective way to get across archaeology and what archaeology companies are doing. And we'll be showing some examples of that. But that's why I'm here today talking to you about that. I'm also a podcaster. I've been podcasting for 15 years, I want to say. Basically, when podcasting became a thing, I got interested in it and I started to jump on board in it. My digital marketing background is in podcasting, it's in theater, it's in hospitality, it's in wrestling, of all things, it's in sports. And now, for the last 2 years, I've been working in archaeology with Rubicon and the Red River Archaeology Group. So we'll get into it now that you know who I am, and hopefully you trust me. We'll get into the next section, which is about social media. So, if you were on social media, you are now a brand. Congratulations. What does that mean to be a brand? To be a brand means what you're putting out there matters. Whether you like it or not, really, if you're on social media nowadays, you are a brand. Whether you're putting out something personal, so if it's my own Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, or if it's the company's Instagram, Twitter, or Facebook, people kind of come to expect a certain way that people post. Outside of archaeology, you have different things, obviously, like people who have like a mental health brand, they'll have like a cooking brand, all these kind of things. But in archaeology in particular, there are different niches of it. Or there are companies like Red River that are just commercial archaeology companies. And that is our brand, is to show the work that we're doing. So why is this necessary to have a brand in 2024? Because that's how you now advertise. That's how you now draw people in. That's how you now show what's happening in your company. And people can be afraid of this. They're terrified to put things out on social media in case it's the right thing, in case it's the wrong thing. And basically, my main, I guess, ethos in this is that everything can be content. Don't get bogged down in what can and can't be content. Everything can be content. This right now that we're doing here today is content. If you take a picture of yourself at this talk and put it up online, that's content. I was at um I was at a talk today about social media. It was really good, or it was really bad, depending on what you think. This is what happened. That's your content. This, for example, I'm filming here and I'm filming here today. That's going to be my content. I'm going to put out a video about what's happening today. You can tell stories, tag people, engage with your clients and staff. It's the most important thing to do with social media. It's social media. It's meant to be social. Talk to people, respond. There's some studies that say that if you're posting on social media and in an attempt to get engagement and get your core audience to relate to you, that you should spend 20 minutes of every morning commenting and tagging on similar content. So, for example, your rival company, if not rival, but let's say your immediate, yeah, we'll say rival company. Your rival company, you go, you comment on their stuff, you like their stuff, you pay attention to their stuff. Generally, the social media manager of that page will do the same back. It tends to be, they'll check your content out, they'll like it, they comment on it, and it creates this kind of ecosystem among this niche this niche market where everybody's stuff goes into the algorithm for the right people. Your opposition can be your greatest help. If you're looking for content, a lot of people always say the greatest place to find your content is in the comment section of your opposition's posts. So if you go into a company that a company you think is doing stuff well, and you go into their comments and you see the questions that are being asked in those comments, you answer those questions. You make a video answering those questions. You have that. You now are providing an answer to these people that are looking for an answer. It's a great way to come up with content, is looking at other people's content. It's not copying. It's you don't want to copy it directly. That is the thing. It's all friendly, but it's a great way to gather content. And as I say, be social on social media. My next point here is show your hustle. This ties in very nicely to everything can be content. Show your hustle. Everybody's busy. Everybody's working. Everybody's doing something interesting. Show it. Anything can be content. If you're working on a report, talk about it as your content. If somebody in your company is giving a talk, that's content. If somebody in your company, say recently our fleet manager, he was in charge of getting new vehicles for the company, getting them branded with our logos, that's content. Take pictures, it shows what's happening, it shows the work that people are doing, and it draws in clients who see the kind of hard work that are going on. It also draws in new hires, people who might be interested in coming aboard your company. I think there's a very interesting statistic down the bottom here as well. It says 71% of customers who have a positive experience on social media are likely to recommend the brand to others. 71%. That's a massive, massive percentage of people. So if you are giving good content online and responding well and happily, people are generally going to come back to view your content again if that's what you want. If it's a client who has a good experience, they're likely to hire you in the future because they'll remember that good experience or recommend you to somebody who will. Or you can build your workforce that way. They can see what you're doing and say, I want to be a part of that. I'd love to be a part of what's happening over there. It looks great. And they'll build it. They'll come because of the positive experience that they had. So social media is not something to be afraid of. And the main thing that I would say about social media is don't fear the cringe. Cringe in social media is the thing that stops people the most. They're terrified. They're absolutely terrified of putting something out there. I will say that I found this in archaeology quite a lot, because quite a lot of archaeology content is for other archaeologists. So people are afraid of putting themselves out there in case their facts are wrong, in case the thing they say gets proven wrong later on or something like that. Also, people don't want to be on camera as much. And I think it can hold people back in a way, but don't be afraid of it. Put the cringe out there. Say that you think you might be wrong. Say that you're happy to be proven wrong. Make another video about it if you are proven wrong, talking about that and how interesting that is. Do not be afraid of the cringe. Get on camera, talk. Social media is inherently a cringy experience. Video marketing is inherently cringy. You have to put yourself out there on camera in order to do it. Somebody has to anyway in your company to be able to get it across. But don't be afraid of it. It's the cringe is what makes it fun. The madness. We spoke before everybody came into the chat there. We were talking. We're saying people with a little bit of madness in their eyes on camera. That's the sweet spot. That's what you want. So don't be afraid of it. The next thing I want to speak about is long form versus short form content and which is best. This is something that's heavily debated all the time. And in archaeology, I think this is something that's vitally important because both have their merits, essentially. So let's talk a little bit about that. We can see long form content, that's your podcasts, it's your documentaries, it's your blog posts, your articles, that kind of a thing. Things that take a little bit longer to consume. Your short form content is your quick videos, your Twitter, your TikTok, your reels, your shorts, your photos, your Instagram posts, those kind of quick little things. So what's best, long form or short form? For a long time, people were saying that short form video is the only way to go. Your video has to be a minute long or no one will watch it. No one has the time to do that. No one's going to do that. If you can't hook somebody in the first 10 seconds, you're done. Your content is meaningless. In recent times, in 2023 and 2024, studies have shown that people are engaging more with long form content, a lot more. And it's all coming down to podcasts. It's all coming down to the way people are consuming YouTube, the way they're consuming influencers like Logan Paul, for example, puts out an hour-long, 2-hour-long interview. Joe Rogan, people like that, they put out 2-3-hour-long interviews online. And these are the things that people are craving now. These are the things that they're consuming. So what I think works best for things like archaeology, which can feature a lot of information, a lot of interesting information, but you're trying to engage a public audience as well who might not necessarily need to know all that information or find that information outwardly interesting, is you let your short form content sell your long form content. What I mean by that is, say, for example, you're making a podcast about a specific site. You make that full-length podcast, make that 2-hour-long podcast with all your information, all your fantastic statistics and finds, and talk about the archaeology, talk about the really interesting things that are found in it. But you pick your minute or your minute and a half from that podcast and you stick that on your Instagram. You stick that on your LinkedIn, you stick that on your Twitter, your Facebook, your TikTok, whatever you're using, and you use that minute to sell the full podcast. You have to remember with this, we'll talk a little bit about it more in a minute, but you have to remember that your audience, if you're a commercial archaeology company, your audience is one other archaeologists who will be interested in it. So that's your long form content. They're more than likely going to listen to that. Your clients, your potential clients who will be looking at it to see how competent your staff are and how good they are. So you want minute long video for that. And you have number 3, the general public who may be living in the area where the work is going on and they're interested in it. So that short form content shouldn't be filled with jargon, shouldn't be filled with something that the public mightn't find as engaging. You need to really engage them with that minute-long, 2-minute-long video to sell them on your full-length blog, your full-length podcast, your full-length documentary, whatever it may be. We use an example of this we used recently is we released a documentary for Brookside Meadows, a site that we're doing in Grove in the UK. And we released a 1.5-minute long trailer featuring, this is a good find, this is a good find, this looks great, this looks great, this looks great. A little bit of talking over it, and the visuals sold the documentary. We put the documentary out, 1,000 views straight away. Using your short form to sell your long form is tried and trusted method of getting people who are interested, finding your right audience for your long form content. It also works both ways. So your long form content can be used to populate your social media and stuff like that. So it's great. I spoke a little bit there about documentary and video. So I'll talk a little bit about how this can be used for archaeology companies. I think it's massively effective. We all see documentaries being used about archaeology sites, your time teams, your Digging for Britons, that kind of thing. And they're amazing. But you can do them as well for not that much money, effectively, to put on your own social medias. So why should we use video? Generally, video is used to increase brand awareness. Approximately 90% of marketers believe that videos increases brand awareness by effectively capturing and retaining viewer attention. People are more likely to watch a video or come back to something because of a video than they are for a picture or text. It's just proven fact. Quality impact. 87% of consumers believe that the quality of a video impacts their trust in a brand, indicating that high quality video production can enhance brand perception. I agree and disagree with this statistic. I agree that quality videos can bring people back. I disagree in that high quality video production can enhance brand perception. I think quality is subjective completely. A quality video can be shot with you holding your phone talking above a find. A quality video can be you going live on Instagram with your iPhone and just chatting. Quality video doesn't necessarily mean really high production values and spending thousands and thousands on it. Obviously, that's great. And obviously, if you want to build on it, that will draw people back in and make your brand look much more effective. But I think that it's quality in terms of the content is much more important than quality in terms of production value, I believe, especially for archaeology. So you have a longer dwell time. Videos increase the amount of time visitors spend on a website, with 82% of marketers noting that incorporating video content results in longer visits. So if you're trying to draw people to your website, which most people are, putting videos on there helps. Having a video page helps. Same with your Instagram, same with your Twitter, same with anything that you can put video content on. They will spend more time with you, with your product. That means you're in their algorithms. That means you're in all this stuff that gets the attention that we're all looking for today. Every company is fighting for attention. Any way that you can do it, do it. So if you can get longer dwell times, great. That's how you get into the algorithm. Lead generation. About 87% of marketers, 87 again, attribute improved lead generation to video content. So that means bringing in your clients. If you have videos, they're more likely to watch that than read a blog or read a manifesto on what your company does. If you can get across in a minute or 2 minute video on your Instagram what your company does, fantastic. A client will look at that and go, I trust this company. It looks great. Consumer preference. 82% of consumers say that they have been convinced to purchase a product or service after watching a video, highlighting video's effectiveness in influencing buying decisions. So you're not necessarily selling a product, say. You're not, in the sense of you're not selling a food or anything like that, or like a jumper, a hat, anything. But you are selling yourself as a brand, and you want them to buy what you're selling in that sense. You don't want them to buy, you want them to buy in. So if 82% of consumers can say they're convinced to purchase a product, if you can convince 82% of your consumers to buy into your product and believe in what you're selling as a company or as a brand, that's massive. That's absolutely incredible turnover in terms of people who are watching your content. If you can do that, fantastic. Why wouldn't you? And video will help you do that. Why use video specifically for archaeology? I think one, archaeology is a visual medium. People like to see finds. People like to see what's happening on sites. People like to see the people that are doing it. So it's a no-brainer in that sense, really. But on a more micro scale than that, a modern deliverable that you can offer your client. It's something that isn't just a report. It's something that isn't just text. It's something that the client can put out there as well to show what they're doing. An example in that documentary that we made for the Brookside Meadows site, that client now can show, this is what we've done. This is what we found. This is how important commercial archaeology is. None of this would have been found without commercial archaeology in this situation. It showcases your hardworking and competent staff and can hook in potential clients and or new hires. Every video you put up that shows your staff digging or talking about what they found or what they know sells your company to a client or to a new workforce who wants to be involved. Every time you put somebody on screen talking about what they're finding and they sound knowledgeable and they know what they're doing and they look like they're having a good time as well, people want to be a part of that. People want to be there. They'll see that when we've had people applying for jobs with the company mentioning our social outreach, mentioning our podcast, saying that's great that you're doing that. It's stuff that gets the company noticed in a different way, to show the company's thinking a little bit differently, to show that the company is highlighting its people. We pride ourselves on being a people first organization, and showcasing people on videos like this is a way to do that. It's a quicker method of getting information to the wider public. If you're writing a report or a monograph or a book on a subject, that can take years. Whereas if you find something on a site, I could be out there on Friday and I can have that video online by Monday. It shows the public what's going on in real time, and that is super, super important for archaeology, especially when you're in a more urban area where people can see the disruption that's happening and may not be necessarily happy about a road scheme or something like that that's happening. You have a positive story to give to that public then in real time, which is super important, I believe. Most importantly, it can populate your website, your social channels, your blogs forever, leaving a direct link for clients and interested public to see the amazing work your company is doing. There's nothing worse than going to a website of a business that you're looking to hire and seeing nothing. You want proof that you can trust them. This is it. This is your proof that you can see that what they're trying to sell you is accurate. You go to their website, you see all these videos from all these projects they've done in the past. You see all their staff talking how knowledgeable they are. You see all these statistics, all these things, and it's incredible to see it. You're more likely to buy into that company if you can see that. And I guess this is the most important one. It's relatively cheap when you consider what you get back. The most thing you'll have to invest in this is time. You'll have to invest your time into this video production. A little bit of money, obviously, but it's mainly a time-based commodity. I'm going to show you a video now to highlight the stuff that I've been talking about. It's a video that was filmed on site. I let the video speak for itself and we can chat about it afterwards.
We have a kist, which is a stone-lined box. We found it when excavating around, finding other cremations. I took some turf back, saw two, this is a few weeks ago, saw two 90-degree stones to each other. We cleaned it back, found a stone box, which is filled with cremation material.
We've got lots of fragmented human remains, possible poorly cremated remains. Some of them are heat cracked, heat affected, but a lot of them aren't very well cremated. So we have large concentrations of fragmented bone on the base here, with some charcoal and burning around it. So they must have just raked out the cremation pyre and just threw it in here.
We're getting a lot of thick bone out of there, looking for pot, looking for artifacts, not necessarily finding them yet. We've taken the box down, the kist down in spits. So normally we would do an arbitrary, if it were all one deposit, we would take it down 5-centimeter increments, but we're starting to see micro layers within it. So we've subsampled, split all those, bagged and tagged them, got them off site.
We're seeing some identifiable parts of the skeleton, vertebrae, skull, some tooth roots, and some long bones. Possibly there's at least one individual in here, maybe two, but I suppose post-excavation analysis will reveal further information on that. So.
And we're hitting the bottom of the kist now, which looks to be stone lined and maybe some burning in situ. And yeah, we've hit the bottom of it. We're going to have a whole ton of radiocarbon dates from it, and happy days, you know, happy days.
So there you have that video. It showcases a lot of things. It showcases what's happening on the site. So like that's taking place on a big road scheme, but it highlights effectively one element that's happening on one particular day. It's highlighting the care our staff takes in excavating that kist or cyst, depending on what way you pronounce it. And it's also highlighting the work that and care that people take into things, their knowledge from the staff. And it's something the client wanted. So for this particular project, outreach was built into the tender, was built into the contract of it. So the client, Transport Infrastructure Ireland, wants outreach. They want the public to know what's happening on that project. And by editing that video, so I was sent out on site. They realized they found something. I go out on site with cameras, with the equipment. I stay there for a couple of hours as they work, film some things, chat to them, and piece it all together. It provides the public with some knowledge of what's going on. But the important thing to remember with this is that you have to know your audience. who is your audience? Our audience for that video was the wider public. Our audience for that video was future clients. It kind of hit a few marks with it, but your content won't always do that. Sometimes it'll be very niche. Sometimes it'll be specifically for one thing, and you have to kind of try and tailor what voice your brand has in that scenario. So as I say, for that one, it was more about showing what's happening on site and how competent our staff are. This next video you're about to see is more of an advertisement. It's more aimed at potential clients, future clients, and it's an ad effectively that's aimed at getting new business. And you can see there's a massive tonal difference in it.
Why do you need an archaeologist? An archaeologist can help you to control risk. Archaeology can be a significant project risk item in construction. Early intervention and engagement is the best way to manage and control this. Secondly, it can save you money. All costs for carrying out archaeological work in relation to any development are borne by the person or organisation carrying out the development. There are no grant aids or subsidies. Early intervention and engagement allows for any necessary archaeological works to be delivered efficiently and in a controlled manner without knock-on effect to the other areas of your programme and budget. The opportunity to design out risk at an early stage also offers you cost benefits. We can help you avoid unexpected delays and expensive conflicts at construction stage. An evaluation of any potential archaeological and heritage impacts and a clear mitigation strategy can strengthen a planning application and avoid requests for further information that can slow the process. Protections for archaeology and heritage are hard-coded into our planning system. All the heritage legislation must be legally complied with, so there is no advantage to deferring engagement with any potential archaeological issues.
You can straight away see the tonal difference in that video. That video came from being at conferences, of energy conferences, and one of the questions that I was asked 2 or 3 times was, why would someone need an archaeologist? Why would they factor that into their budget? And we decided to come up with this video. It's video that a previous employee had been working on the script for, and we decided to turn it into a quicker video that we can put out there to make a more client-focused video to actually advertise to them why they should hire an archaeologist. I just wanted to put that out there to show the tonal difference in how to present something that's more, I suppose, about facts and about what you're finding on site versus aiming towards a client and having to have the text splash up on screen to really drive the point home of why you're selling something. You're selling 2 different things effectively in 2 different videos. But our effort in towards these shorter videos has kind of made clients trust us to the point where this documentary, Brookside Meadows Making Homes for Millennia, was requested by one of our clients. They requested a long form documentary. It's an 1 hour and 5 minute long documentary. It was one of the hardest projects I've ever been a part of to edit, and it's incredible. I'm really proud of the final product. It's available on our YouTube page if you want to check it out, but it shows the hard work, the dedication that the team at that site are putting into finding an incredible Roman villa. It really is an incredible find if you're interested to check out that documentary. But more importantly, it shows that the client trusted us because they could see that we have a track record of providing videos, of providing these things. And we made a feature-length documentary that the client and that we have to put out into the world now to show the work that's being done on it. So now let's talk about podcasting. Podcasting is something that's been around now for about 15 to 20 years, maybe, more along the 15 to 17 years. And it's kind of taken over massively. We have our own podcast here at the Red River Archaeology Group called The Shindig. It's a podcast that we think has put us out there on a global scale. You can use your podcast to a great effect to highlight small, niche, local projects, as well as engaging and networking with other people. We've had a massive different range of guests on the podcast, from our own staff, obviously talking about the interesting stuff there, to massive to names like Kat Jerman we've had talking about her book release. We've had the one you can see there, Places for the Living, Places for the Dead, where we spoke to people who had their book out, who had we released it with them, with Transport Infrastructure Ireland. And it really shows how you can do these things on a global scale. This picture here is our host, Dr. Tom Horn, interviewing Ryan McNutt in the USA. And I think as a picture, it shows how you can use digital media to break down these barriers. That's somebody in an office in Middleton, County Cork, talking to somebody over in the USA. And it's put out there as a conversation for the world. It's networking for the modern era massively, splitting our core audiences and putting them together to make one core audience. People who are following Ryan will come and watch the podcast. People who are following us might go and watch Ryan, and it's a great collaborative effort. This podcast was actually created in the company before I became part of the company by Jonathan Miller and Tanaya Jorgensen. And in season 2, myself and Dr. Tom Horn took it over. And since then, it's went on to win a Leading Lights Award in 2023. We won 2 awards for outreach with it. And the reason I bring this up is to brag about it a little bit, because we're really proud of it. And also to point out the fact that you can't win awards like this unless people can see that there's something to award, unless they can see what you're doing. And that brings us back to the everything is content, to show your hustle. So have a quick look over the benefits of podcasting. So podcasting can reach a large audience. As of 2023, 465 million people worldwide were listening to podcasts. I think it's still kind of not seen as being this valuable commodity like it is, but 465 million people listening is incredible. The percentage of people that will pay more attention to a podcast ad, it's 81% as opposed to a 60% for a TV ad. It shows the engagement you're getting. There's a higher level of engagement and audience trust with the podcast. Podcasts create an intimate experience with your listeners as well, because they're often consuming them when they're going about their daily lives, when they're traveling, when they're cooking, when they're doing anything, exercising, that kind of a thing. So it builds an actual emotional connection with your audience. 13% of businesses in 2021 use podcasts to connect with B2B clients. So you can create relationships and use it to network. Actually interview your clients, interview your potential clients on your podcast to see what they want so that you can give it to them in the future. It's a massive way to do it. But the main reason I think that podcasts should be something you consider going forward for archaeology is that it can be chopped up and it can be churned out as short form content forever. Be repurposed as a blog using AI. So every interview, every time, like Zoom right now is transcribing this meeting. You can take that using AI, it's transcribing it, and you can turn that into a blog by looking at it, looking over it. It's in a text. Get an editor to edit that into a blog, and you have that as a blog form of content, as well as your video, as well as your actual podcast. I recommend, highly recommend audio and video content for your blog. They will reach 2 different audiences. Some people are saying, oh, you're splitting your audience, That doesn't exist anymore. You want as many eyes on something as you possibly can get on it. And by creating video content, by creating audio content, by creating written content, you're doing that. You're making them have an eye on all of it, and it'll all draw them somewhere. If you have somebody who doesn't listen to podcasts, doesn't watch your videos, but they might read your blog, they'll read that. And at the bottom of the blog, if you have a link to the actual podcast, you might get yourself a new listener. You might convert someone to go and check out your podcast, to check out your video. And it's an interesting way of converting your audience to check out your other content. Speaking of blogs, blogging is back. They're recommending that blogs are making a massive comeback for 2024 and 25 because short form Twitter stuff isn't doing it anymore. Since Elon Musk took over Twitter, or X, or whatever it's called nowadays, people are turning away from it and they're actually going back to blogs. Before the short form revolution of about 10 years ago, YouTube and podcasts were always long form. YouTubing was come with me on my week, and it was long form. Everything's going back to that again. And people are really saying that blogs are going to make a massive comeback. So start to think about what you can do as a blog. Again, everything is content. Everything can be put into a blog. Once again, your fleet manager has new fleet. Put that in your blog. You're writing a report. What are you writing a report on? What are do you have any advice for other people writing a report? That can be top 5 reasons why you struggle to write your reports. Top 5 reasons why this happens at an archaeology site. Anything can be content. Blogs are an easy way to engage your staff and use their knowledge and personalities to drive people to your website. So people are going to share things if they know that their friends are involved. So if you get somebody on site to write a blog about the site, their friends on the site are going to share that blog because they want to support them. It's a great way of engaging your staff, getting them involved in your social media strategy. A large percentage of our website traffic, so on Rubicon Heritage website, rubiconheritage.com, a large percentage of our website traffic comes from our blog. Now, we've kind of neglected our blog a little bit over the last few years, and still the largest percentage of traffic coming to the website is through the blog. That shows you how important blogging can be. Once we're now in the middle of putting together a strategy to really reinvigorate our blog, and I think that we're going to see a massive difference in our website traffic from it. And I think you would too if you started to really focus on your blogging in 2024 and 2025. Once again, you can use your blog to mine for short form content, quotes, statistics, facts. These can be used on your social media for content and to drive people to your website. So you see an interesting fact or statistic in a blog that one of your colleagues wrote. Get a picture of that colleague, get a picture of something relating to that, stick the fact up as text, bam, you have Instagram content from your blog. You can also link it back to the blog so that people who are on your Instagram might then check out your blog. If you're producing a podcast or documentary, we've spoken about this, you can also release an accompanying blog that contains much the same information. This will draw in more of an audience that may not be interested in videos or podcasts, but as a result may become interested in your digital content. Always put your links at the bottom. So if you're repurposing your content, make sure you're writing underneath where you're repurposing it from to get that knock-on effect or to really feed that ecosystem of your social media. Speaking of feeding ecosystems for social media, let's talk about influencers. Influencer is kind of a negative word. An awful lot of influencers are doing this, and influencers doing that. But influencer strategies and collaboration are an incredible way that you can use their techniques in archaeology. So what is an influencer? An influencer is somebody who has a following about a niche topic, generally. So as I mentioned earlier, you have like mental health influencers and brands and that kind of a thing. So an influencer can help your brand. And what you can use as an influencer is your staff, your clients, colleagues from other companies, countries, etc. Like I said about having people on your podcast, they act as your influencers. We did a book launch recently for, I actually have the book here, for the Places for the Living, Places for the Dead book from the N25 New Ross Bypass. And we effectively use an influencer strategy with James Ogan of Transport Infrastructure Ireland. We produced 2 videos for the event. One where we used James's knowledge of the dig and of the site and of the work that was done, where he gave us a little bit of a tour around the area, telling us about the work that went on and why it was important and why it was interesting. We then shared that video online, which means he shared that video online, which means his company shared that video online, which means the local governments and companies showed that video online, allowing your video to reach a wider audience that it might not necessarily have reached in the past. Sometimes people are afraid of collaboration and, oh, this will steal my audience, or I don't want to be dealing with that. It's always good to be open to a new audience. Talking to your staff about this, talking to your clients about this, and talking to your colleagues from other companies about this are massive ways that you can do this. So you can network and get guest bloggers or have someone on your podcast, as we spoke about a minute ago. People want to talk about their subjects. If there's other people involved in archaeology and they have a project, a book launch, a report, something they're researching, they want to speak about it. They might be a little bit nervous to come on camera or talk, but they'll want to talk about it. If you can get them to trust you, come on, talk about their thing, you can benefit each other. And that's what influencing strategies is, essentially. An example of an influencer strategy that we used, and this was, I did a little bit of research on the idea that sometimes people want information from a person and not a brand. And this is where influencer strategies become very, very important, because sometimes you don't want to be advertised at. Sometimes you just want to be told something. And the way to do that is through influencer strategies. We had a video from a book launch that took place in Wales last month, where the founder of our company got up and gave a speech. And in the speech, he gave a little bit of a brief history of the company and how it was founded. And it was really interesting. And it was the first time I heard him speaking about that. And I happened to have the cameras on and rolling because everything is content. And I used that footage. I edited it into a short little video, 2.5 minutes long. And I went to look about what is the best way to get this across. If we were to post that on our own, on the Rubicon social medias or on the Red River social media pages or on our website, it's just a statement from a company and it might get lost in the shuffle. Whereas if Colin Maloney, our founder, shares that himself on his own social media and tags the companies, then that becomes a personal story. And a personal story is far more interesting to somebody than any brand putting out just the company line. Now, we shared the video again a few days later, tagging Colin and stuff, but him sharing it from day one and talking about all the people that were in the room, et cetera, on his LinkedIn pages, it really showed that the influencer strategy works. And it comes from a better place, because when Colin was giving that speech, he meant what he was saying. And so when he posts it, he's going to mean what he says as well. And people can tell that. People tell when you're lying, and they know he was telling the truth with that post, and he was being real on social media. And that's what people kind of go towards. So now I'm going to talk a little bit about story maps. So this story map was created for the M28 in Cork. It's a road scheme. And the story map basically shows, it's a live update of what's happening on the site that was given out as a link directly to the public so they can see what's happening on the site. So this section here in this video, it shows the testing video and drone video parts of the story map. The story map is a great way to get the idea of the scale of the project, like the M28, as well as the different areas. It was kept up to date regularly so that it was a must-see for anyone who wanted to stay informed on the project. You can see it incorporates lots of information. It incorporates videos, incorporates images. It's kind of attacks all the senses and leaves people very, very much informed about what's happening on the site as it's happening in real time, which both us and the client thought was very important on a large scale project like that. So why did I put up a big dramatic stop sign right here near the end of this talk? This is because we spoke about clients. This is basically, I wanted to take time to say, this is all well and good. This is brilliant. This is fantastic to get all these videos, to get all this footage out there into the world. However, it needs to be done with client permission. A lot of clients want it and think it's great and really want the work that's being done to be put out there. However, some clients don't. Something might be a little bit touchy. It might be something that the public won't be keen on, and clients won't want any footage. So always keep communication with your clients. They effectively are in charge. They own the footage you film, really. So you need to ask permission. You need to keep in constant communication about your outreach for these events. I'll give you an example. There's a site in Ireland recently, and we asked permission to share some of the content from it. They said they have absolutely no problem with us sharing content from it, but maybe a year down the line, because they don't want to draw attention to it right now. And that's perfectly fine. You just need to know where those boundaries are and know where you can and can't share the content, because there's nothing worse than you putting all your effort into making an hour-long documentary about this amazing site, and then you put it up online and the client tells you to take it down, or the client sues you for breach of contract. We don't want that. And we don't want people going out into the world saying, well, Luke Barry told me that I can make whatever videos I want. So yeah, just make sure you keep in constant communication with your clients or the people in charge of the site before you post content, even on your own socials. Just make sure that you're aware of GDPR guidelines and all that kind of stuff as well. So old school outreach, reports, monograph, publication, photography, journalism, still do them. They're fantastic. How can you turn these into a modern approach? So your reports, you can turn your reports into a blog, condense it. It's very easy to do. Turn it into a podcast, interview. I don't know about your report. Your report sounds interesting. Let's talk about it. What are the findings from this? What happened on that site? Number 3, turn it into TikTok, Instagram Reels. TikTok's not just about dancing anymore and weird things like that. There's plenty of people on there talking about history, talking about archaeology, talking about the world. And it's a great way to sell long or short form content to people who otherwise might not pay attention to your brand at all. You can document the process of report writing with interviews. Talk to people about the process. Again, I'm saying this, everything is content. You can say it down, see it down the bottom side of that screen. You're probably sick of me saying it, but you'll remember it. Everything is content. Monographs or book launch. How can you turn a book launch into modern social media content? Document the process of putting the book together. That's a really interesting process that most people in the world will never encounter. Document it, whether by pictures, with videos, whatever, turn it into content. Talk to the people involved. What is their experience? How can you turn that into content? Podcast about the book pre-launch. We did that for this book here that I showed you a second ago, The Places for the Living, Places for the Dead. We interviewed the editors of that book just before the launch, and you could really get the excitement in it. And it's incredible to talk to these people who've put so much work and so much passion into these projects, and everyone will want to hear somebody speaking passionately about something. A video blog of the book launch event, highlighting the people involved and important invited guests and clients. This is something that we've started to specialize in. Any event, we turn it into a vlog, and really highlights the event and how important they are. And people are starting to really like them. So if you want to check out our YouTube channel, we have a few of them up there at the moment. Photographs. What we did on the M28 project is we ran a staff photography competition. You've seen throughout this presentation, all the pictures have been from that photography competition, all taken by our staff. It's a great way to give the public a direct link to the archaeology on site every day. We even did an exhibition for Heritage Week in 2023 where we showed off all the amazing photographs that the staff took. You can see here, this is the exhibition in a library in Cove, County Cork, where lots of people came to show, to see all the amazing pictures that were taken by our staff. And it's great. It's a great boast to be able to show how talented your staff are, not just in the field of archaeology, but in photography as well. And people love to see these kind of things. So public talks then as well. Public talks are, I still think, the most effective way to get information across to a public, because you're engaging with people who are both on social media and not on social media. But the key there is to present this to a digital audience as well. Still film it, give your public talks, give your presentation, but make sure the cameras are there to catch it. Make sure it's there to film it and turn it into content. Get your pictures with people who come dressed up like Victorian nightmares or whatever, and put it out there as content. This is a local history group, by the way. People don't just dress like this coming to public talks in Cork. They came along, and it was great to get the pictures, to get the content, to get the video out there. So this next video, where we are coming to the end here. I know I've gone a little bit over time here, but we are coming to the end of this here. This video shows the kind of video you can do to highlight your public events.
I'm Dr. Tom Horn. I'm the Group Communications Manager for Rubicon Heritage, part of the Red River Archaeology Group. And just behind me, we've finished a brilliant day of talks about the archaeology of the Cork region as part of National Heritage Week.
Today was a fantastic event. It was really great to engage both with the public and with colleagues, and also to have the likes of Ken Hanley from TII along as well to share the whole day and event, and yeah, it's been just wonderful. Yeah.
So it was a celebration of our work, and the talks today just showed the breadth of talent that we've got in Rubicon Archaeology, but also in our related industries.
We've got to remember why we do the job, and we do the job, in a lot of cases, it's actually the public that funds it through taxpayers' money and road schemes and things like that. So we really have to kind of let them know what we've done on their behalf, and tell them the stories of the archaeology that we found, and I don't know, make them part of the whole process. So this bit is absolutely vital. It's the final bit of our job, really.
Everyone, I think, comes together with heritage and archaeology, and events like this, National Heritage Week, are just a great way for us to show that, you know, we care about heritage, we care about your heritage, and we just think it's something that we can all enjoy, and it enriches everyone's experience. So yeah, we've had a fantastic day today, and we've really enjoyed doing National Heritage Week.
So as you might have guessed, that was a video about our contribution to National Heritage Week here in Ireland. And it's something that happens every year here in Ireland, and we try and take part in it as much as we can. This year, what we did was we had a focus on Cork, our Cork office, for Rubicon Heritage and all the work that we've done in Cork for the last 20 years, 20 years of Rubicon Heritage. And it was great to have a highlight video showing that, showing how interested the staff are, showing the breadth of the work and stuff like that as well. So I'm going to zip through the end of this here now. So how do you measure your digital outreach? So measuring it, what I would say about this is don't try to go viral. This isn't something that you need to be worried about millions of views and hundreds of thousands of views. You need to measure your digital outreach success by what you want. Do you want clients looking at your video? Yes. You're not going to have a million clients looking at your video. Do you want other archaeologists looking at your video? Yes. You might have thousands of people looking at your video. It's a niche industry, a niche interest. You don't need to be disheartened, I guess, by not a crazy amount of views on a video. There doesn't seem to be any rhyme or reason to these things anymore anyway. You could have one video that will get 10,000 views overnight and a better video that's more interesting and more engaging that gets 100. And there doesn't seem to be any rhyme or reason. It depends who shares it. It depends what algorithm it gets into. And these kind of statistics change on this constantly anyway. So I'm not going to go into detail on them. Client communication, we've spoken about, these are things to watch out for. Make sure the client is aware of what you are doing, including them is always advised. Branding, plan for growth. This is something that we're struggling with at the moment in our company. The company got really big out of nowhere. It expanded into the UK, expanded into Germany, all these things. And so we had no branding plan going forward. So like we have Rubicon Heritage here, but Rubicon Heritage is part of the Red River Archaeology group. And we've Red River Archaeology UK, and we've Rubicon Archaeology in Germany as well. So there was no necessary branding. It wasn't necessary at first to have a branding plan going forward, but because these companies were set up so quickly, there was no thought about branding put into it. So try and have branding that's planning for the future, that's planning for company growth, to make sure you don't slip into the mistakes that we're having to contend with right now. We're trying to see how to get the company branded correctly. At the moment, we have multiple social media accounts going for our different brands, and it doesn't necessarily lead to optimal outreach. It can't, like, it's great for localizing things, but from an overall brand point of view, there's definitely a cleaner way to do it. And we're looking into that at the moment. And if you're planning on setting up any brands, plan for growth. It's my main bit of advice I give to you today on that. And make time for the job. Making videos is not a short job. Filming a video. So if you want a 2-minute video, like the ones that we've seen today, those 2-minute videos will have 6 or 7 hours of footage that you need to edit down into 2 minutes. That's going to take, I'm a quick editor, and I'll get that done in a day or two. It may take you longer than that day or two to do. And depending on the video, say, for example, a feature-length documentary that's an hour long will take you far, far longer to edit down that content. So give yourself the correct amount of time for this. As I say, it's cheap to produce. However, it's not cheap in terms of time. Who is your content for? We covered that. Everything is content. I want you to remember that phrase coming out of today. Everything can be content. So what has it gained us as a company from focusing on outreach in this way? We've gained a huge rise in our subscribers on YouTube and other social media channels, both locally and internationally. It's had added public interest. Our YouTube channel receives frequent comments and questions from interested locals. Anytime we put up something that's happening in, say, like the Ringaskiddy area for the M28, we'll get comments, or we'll get DMs and private messages from people who live locally asking questions about the site and that sort of a thing. And it gives you ideas for content going forward and stuff that you might need to address in a public talk going forward. And interest in our outreach from clients, leading to more interest in stuff like we spoke about, videos being produced for this book launch for Transport Infrastructure Ireland, the Brookside Meadows documentary that I produced that was released a few weeks ago, and Transport Infrastructure Ireland here in Ireland have trusted me to create another documentary that's coming soon, that's about 30 minutes long, that should be released in the next few weeks. It was really interesting. I don't want to go into detail about it right now, but it is going to be something that's incredible. And it's great to see that these government agencies, essentially, our clients, potential future clients, are trusting us to create this content and this new deliverable that I don't believe any other company is able to give them at the moment. So equipment and technique, I'm going to zip through. This microphone that I'm talking into right now costs 35 euros. I'm going to stop screen sharing now so I can show you these things properly. Apologies. So this here is a gimbal. What you do with that, you slot your phone in here, turn it on, and it keeps your phone steady. So you can get a steady shot. It also moves around. If you're filming on your own, you can set that to follow you around the room as well. This costs about €150. Not going to break the bank necessarily to get that. Microphones wise, for out on sites, we have lav mics. What this does, you have this tiny little microphone. I'm sure you've seen TikTokers holding them, talking into them. It drives me mental. I don't know why they don't clip them onto their t-shirts. But this here connects into your phone as your receiver. That plug connects onto your top there, and you have a perfectly good microphone for out in the field that in most cases will block the wind. So it depends how windy it is really, but in most cases, that cost me €30. A tripod will set you back another 30 or 40 euro. These things are relatively inexpensive if you want to put money into it. Now, that being said, you can just do this with a mobile phone. There's nothing wrong with that at all if you want to go out there and just film yourself using your just phone, selfie mode, talk, and talk to the camera, tell them what you're doing. That's perfectly okay as well. As long as it's interesting content, people will pay attention to it. You can spend absolutely nothing on this. You can spend a couple of hundred on it and it'll be perfectly usable. You can spend thousands on it if you want to invest that way. You don't necessarily need to. Obviously, we all want a drone, we all want a good camera, we all want a good microphone, all that kind of stuff. It's not 100% necessary though. Everything is content. Everything can be filmed using your phone as long as the content itself is interesting to the audience that you're sending it to. So that kind of brings me to the end of what I wanted to talk about today. So I want to open it up to questions. Sorry, I went over time there.
That was absolutely fascinating.
Thank
Really
you.
wonderful stuff. Thank you so much, Luke.
No problem at all. Thank you.
Does anybody have any questions? You can pop them in the chat or raise your hand and unmute yourself. I'm sure that there's probably going to be a few. So come on. Oh, I've just seen Anna. Have you got a question? Sorry, I saw you'd unmiked yourself. I just made an assumption there, but there you go. You have a question now.
Well, firstly, I want to say, Luke, that was absolutely fantastic. It almost made me feel I could do that stuff, which is great.
You could. That's the thing.
And thank you for putting it in a language that we can all understand as well. So quite often, I think that's quite a barrier for people to use sort of a specific set of language. There was a couple of things, actually. I mean, the first thing was the video that you did for clients that you showed. Really got the point over, and then the doorbell went, so I didn't see the last bit of it. I just wanted to ask, was there anything in there about using archaeology in order to fulfill clients' social obligations? Because that's a really big thing that we'd like to get over to clients.
There wasn't, but that's a very good point. Definitely, that would, you could do a full video on that on its own. Nearly, it's a great idea. I'll actually steal that. Thanks.
Well, yeah, because I was actually in a room with people who were all construction people, and it was webinar, and they were all talking about social value, and not one of them had considered that heritage could fulfill any of the social value. So it's a message to get across. My other question was, you talked about websites, and that's great. Actually, I'm a person who, one of the only people in the world left that likes to read a lot of stuff. So I've quite often had people say to me, oh, websites are obsolete. We don't need them. Nobody looks at them. We do everything through Facebook. What's your take on that?
I disagree with that massively.
Hooray.
And it's for the reason you said. There's always somebody who will prefer it. And we should be trying to reach everyone. We shouldn't be just trying to reach what's the most popular. It should be something for everyone. And my point on that is, if you're checking out our website and I transcribe a video as a blog, but I put at the end, transcribed from a video on our YouTube channel, blah, blah, here's the link, you might then go and watch that video. So you're creating new customers and new, I suppose, audience all the time with it. That being said, I think websites are, again, it's relatively inexpensive to run a website. You can do it for free if you want to. Obviously, you have to pay for your .coms and you have to pay for your all that kind of stuff. But there are very cheap ways to run a website. I don't know why you wouldn't, because number one, it's a way to house everything. It's a very easy link that you can send to a client, or send to a staff member, or send to a potential staff member, that they can just go and see what your company is all about from one link. You can't do that on Facebook. You can't do that on Instagram as much, because you have to go scrolling through everything. On Facebook, bam, there it is. There's everything about our company in one location. And I agree. I like to read long form content as well. So I agree with you wholeheartedly on that one.
That's great. There's two of us now. Fantastic. Thank you.
Thanks ever so much, Anna. Any other questions? Cara.
I thought that was brilliant. Thank you. I
Thank
think
you.
I've got so many ideas. I almost need reining in a little bit.
No reining in.
I suppose, what would you recommend as a starting point for somebody that, say, has absolutely no online brand? What would you recommend is the first thing, and is going to, I suppose, have the most impact as a starting point?
In terms of how to get notice?
Yeah, as the first step as well in the road of then making sure that we've got
Okay.
the podcast, we've got the blog, we've got the website.
What I would say is have something up there, anything at all. Even if it's you talking to camera about an opinion you have, or a picture, or anything at all. Once you have any bit of content up, start to comment on other people's stuff. They'll come and check you out. Once you have that content up, they'll go, oh, I see what she's doing. This looks good. And they'll do it. So they will, like most, we're all nosy. We all want to know who's liking and commenting on our stuff. We will check it out, and we will, especially anyone who has a brand, anyone who has a social media, like for me, for example, if you commented on the Red River Facebook page, or I will go and look back at your content straight away. And I guarantee you any brand managers are the same. They're checking who's liking their stuff. They have to. It's their job. So they will follow you back. They will comment back, and then you're in that algorithm. The other thing I would say is know what you want to put out there, and know what audience you want to reach. If you want to reach clients, it has to be a very specific way. If you want to just do a general, isn't this cool? Look at all these really cool stuff. That has to be a completely different tone. I would also, as well as having kind of backup, like I'm in the middle of producing a podcast at the moment outside of archaeology, and we've been pre-production on it for 4 months. We haven't advertised it even once yet, so we're waiting till we have 10 episodes recorded to put them all up. So we have countless videos, countless images, countless that we have up there already before we even try and hook someone in. There's no short answer to this, unfortunately. I suppose the answer is, like, can I ask, what are you looking to, who are you looking to get the attention of?
It's more, I suppose, an information sharing, hey, look at what we're doing, isn't it really cool?
Well, then commenting on other people's stuff is the main way to do that.
Okay.
And I know that sounds, you'll hate doing it. Everyone hates doing it, and it's cringe, as I said, but don't fear the cringe. Like, comment if you see somebody who's doing something similar and you like what they're doing, just write, oh, this is cool, really like this video, thanks for this. That's all you need to write. Don't be genuine. Don't comment on stuff you don't like people, I'm sure you know yourself, you can smell when someone's not being genuine a mile away on social media. So comment on the stuff you like, comment on the stuff that you'd like to be like. There's nothing wrong with fake it till you make it. There's nothing wrong with copying someone else's style until you find your own style while you're practicing it. But put yourself on camera. Put yourself out there. That would be what and the main advice I have is just do it and just enjoy it. And if it doesn't work for us, brilliant. Why didn't that work? Okay, let's try something else. You said you have loads of ideas. Try all of them. That would be my advice. Don't be afraid to fail with it.
Thank you.
There's no one answer is basically the short, but try everything and message me if you need any more help on it. I love talking about this kind of stuff anyway. So
oh, you will regret saying that. Thank you so much.
No problem.
I think that is it, isn't it? It's that fear to get started, but once you actually
100%.
make that move, then it sort of cascades out and you just get going. I think it's always that initial nervousness, but yeah. I think you just have
And
to dive in.
you're afraid to put yourself out there, but you realize that when you do, you'll very quickly find your right audience and the people that will engage with your content. And also, you often can't control who's going to engage with your content. They'll find you, they'll gravitate towards you because you're right for them to watch. You know what I mean? And they'll tell you what content they want from you then, essentially. So it's a kind of it's an ecosystem.
Brilliant. Thank you. And Bill.
Hi, morning all. Hi, yeah, I'm Bill Horner, County Archaeologist with Devon County Council.
Hi, Bill.
Hi, just picking up again on the client confidentiality side of things. We're really wrestling at the moment on all the stories that aren't being told because of the client confidentiality or health and safety on site for open days side of things, and as well as the client social responsibility side of it. There's also the planning public benefit formal requirement, and also almost an existential issue for us in the local authorities, in that if we are not meeting our social and outreach obligations, we are going to cease to exist. Therefore, the industry will not get the work. So we're looking at how we can beef up our wording of written schemes of investigation to be stronger on outreach. I know it's a delicate balancing act in keeping everyone on board, the developer, the contractor, the curator, but we are seriously looking at how can we much more formalize that there must be an outreach program, and possibly, if the contractor is unable to do it, we reserve the right as the curator under planning policy and local plan policy to do that ourselves, obviously with a bit of discussion, but much unfortunately isn't being told, and it's really sad.
It is. I agree with you on that one massively, and it is a balancing act of what should you be saying, what can you say, and there's been so many sites that I've seen that we go, oh, this would be great footage, can I get out? And they're like, nope, client won't allow it, public interest, etc., etc. But what I would say, what I'm aiming to do, what I'm seeing a change in, is giving examples. So make sure you have footage or have outreach, have a portfolio essentially of stuff where it worked well, where it was positive, where it was great. And when you come up against it, say, can you please take a look at these and see what it did? Here's the feedback from the public, here's the feedback from the clients, look how many comments are underneath this video, look how many views this got, look at the press that this got shared, and how positively it was looked on. I'll use Brookside Meadows as an example that we did recently, that we did a full documentary on. That's a Roman villa that there's like hundreds of finds on the site. It's one of the most rich sites I've ever been on. We actually didn't even know what to film. There was like trying to condense it down to an hour was difficult. And we there was the talk of, will we come up against the why are you building houses on this argument, which is a valid argument, obviously. But the client very much wanted to push forward to make this documentary to show the work that's been done by commercial archaeologists. And they wanted to do that because they saw the other videos we've done. And they wanted to do that because they saw the short form videos that we've done. Like it doesn't need to be a full documentary. You can, the minute long video about the kist will show how valuable this can be. Will show how interested a public can be in these videos. Public talks, I still believe, are the best form of outreach. I'll always say that. Engaging with the public one-on-one. How do you get it to guarantee it? That's a hard one to say. I could argue in it. I could argue that, yeah, my main argument would be having a portfolio to show them of when it worked. I'd say that's the only way you can do it, because they can't tell you you're wrong then, essentially. But it is it's the hardest part of the job, really. Seeing all this amazing stuff that should get outreach, not get outreach, and should be shown to the public, not get the public admiration it deserves is difficult. From a county archaeologist point of view, can I ask how would you engage with a content creator in terms of that? If they came to you saying they wanted to film a site that wasn't, say, publicly accessible, what is the role? What is your role in that?
Well, mostly we very much rely on the contractors at the moment to do that side of thing, because we just, we don't even have, not that we tweet anymore, but we didn't even really have the staff resources to even do that. So
yeah, I see.
It's usually relying on the fact that we have got a very brief outreach clause in the WSI and hope that something will happen. But we do, there are clearly sites where we sort of weigh in and say, this really must have an open day, or really, can you get a camera in and do a film and do a press release or something?
Something
old school, but we at the moment we're relying on the contractors to do the PR. We have in one of our own road schemes, we have done we had a story map, which we were, was a sort of toe in the water on a county council owned scheme. It sort of worked well until the contractors changed, and we've had to close that down and somehow transfer it into a more conventional county council website format.
Yeah, it's tough.
We could be doing a lot more.
Yeah, and I think everyone could.
Great, thank you.
No problem at all. And as I say, feel free to reach out if there's anything you need to run by afterwards or anything. I'm happy to chat about it.
I think just to say that your comments about having those kind of proven cases, that portfolio, that was actually raised on Monday afternoon's session about social value, if anyone wants to go back and listen to the recording on that, because it was kind of a similar conversation, and it was the phrase that I remember was somebody going and talking to a client and saying, okay, I understand your approach on this, but just respectfully, I think you're missing a trick, and referred back to some of these other examples of how things could potentially be applied or how they could work, and then just providing that evidence base, and then that can open that conversation about okay, these are the options. So I think that's a really important point that you made there. So but yeah, of course, resourcing is always an issue, isn't it?
Always.
Gosh, I don't know how you do all the work that you're doing. It is
neither do I.
Need to clone your loop. Does anybody else have any questions for Luke? I had a quick one, but oh, sorry, Bill. Yeah, again, sorry. Is that an old hand or a new hand?
No, sorry, sorry, not trying to hog things.
No.
Just to talk about sort of platforms for social media. I'm not sure if ethics is the right word, but I know we're all very interested in ethics these days. And again, as a local authority, we've been told to stop using Twitter for various reasons. Personally, I have reservations about TikTok. What do we do?
None of them are good. If you're going to go down that route, none of them are ethically. There's no clean slate there with any of them, essentially. They're all multinational global companies, and with all multinational global companies, you find some ethical barrier there somewhere. TikTok is an interesting one because there's them and Meta have been proven to have been using data to sell to advertisers and stuff like that. Twitter, obviously Elon Musk took over, and people aren't terribly happy about the way he approaches things. I don't know what the best way to approach that is. Like, I don't think there's not an innocent social media platform, essentially, and the ones that are not effective, and that's the actual problem. There is no effective one. People like Blue Sky have tried to set up ones, and they're all run ethically and amazing, but there's no reach on it, so you're not actually going to get the same engagement that you want. YouTube even is run by Google, and people have issues with Google as well. So there is no good way to go about that. I'm interested in not being told to pull back from Twitter. That is an interesting one, because I've heard a few different businesses that's happened with, but Twitter still has one of the best organic reach. It's still one of the best platforms for organic reach out there that you don't have to pay for, because once it's reshared or retweeted, it's into everybody else's algorithm straight away. So it's interesting that still is up there with that. But I guess there is no good social media, unfortunately. We just have to trust that the people on it are good, I guess. But yeah, it's a minefield in that regard, and it always seems like the more you research it, the less you wish you hadn't.
Thanks very much.
Sorry, I can't give a better answer on that, but
I think it was the answer I was expecting. Thank you.
okay.
I just had a quick question about, you said that obviously you Red River Group has moved into Germany now. And I just wondered, when you're kind of moving into a different country or whatever it is, or maybe even a different region where you've got different audiences, do you do so Germany, for instance, what's your approach there? Are you doing like audience mapping, or a different approach is needed?
At the moment, we're very much right in the middle of that, so it's a perfect question for the timing. So we're trying to figure out, like, for example, LinkedIn. LinkedIn in the UK and Ireland is how I would find other archaeologists very quickly, or archaeology companies very quickly, and it's a very quick way to get across to that, and to in terms of getting information out there. However, we found in Germany that isn't the case, which is interesting straight away. A lot of Facebook still in Germany seems to be working a lot better. So we're kind of focusing more on Facebook in that regard. We're trying to see what will work and won't work. At the moment, we haven't reached a position where we're putting out content for Germany specifically yet. There's a lot more rules about what you can and can't share in Germany than there is in the UK and Ireland, it seems, and what the local government have a lot more, I guess, permissions. You have to get granted a lot more permissions from them than you would over here. So we're kind of trying to jump through that hoop at the moment, trying to figure that one out. But in terms of what to share and when to share it and stuff like that, it is about audience mapping. It is about doing little bits of research, things like that. What I'll find is, and people, back to ethics, AI is a great way to figure out these things very quickly. ChatGPT and stuff is, the way I use ChatGPT is just a faster and more efficient Google. I wouldn't use it to do a whole lot for me, except for that. If you ask it, how do I optimize this post for a German audience, it will tell you. So that it's a very good shortcut for that. How do I optimize this post? Like, SEO is something I hadn't touched on in this, but SEO is massive for if you're building websites and having keywords and stuff. Say you have a blog, you have a video, you want to optimize it for a specific audience, post your caption into ChatGPT that you've written and say, how do I optimize this for archaeologists in the UK? How do I optimize this for people who are only interested in lithics? How do I optimize, you know what I mean? This kind of a thing. And it will break it down. It'll give you all the relevant hashtags. It'll give you all that kind of stuff that will work. And ChatGPT for a while was only up as far as 2022 it had information for, but it's been updated recently to 2024. So it will give you very quick fixes on things. I wouldn't use it for everything because it is a little bit untrustworthy still, but for quick fixes like that, it's really, really handy. But yeah, we're still in the middle of doing loads of German research, loads of fun German research at the moment.
No, that's fascinating. I didn't realise that side of ChatGPT. So that's actually that's really fascinating. We've got a question in the chat. How many members of staff are assisting you or can assist you per project, or is it just you?
It's we have a department, I guess, but we're all kind of multitasking essentially. So like I'm the office manager here in Middleton, and I help with the sales side of things as well. So, but I also do the content creation. But our actual communications officer is Dr. Tom Horn. So he's in charge of the everyday posting and the everyday, and any communication you see, he's effectively in charge of it. And I create content, he puts it out there essentially. We also have Hannah Sims, who works for us as well, who's on that our Prosum team, which is PR social media team, PR outreach social media. So we all kind of collaborate on things together. So it would be 3 of us, but it is a company-wide approach in terms of nothing goes out that the directors don't approve. And that's how you get your branding. That's how you get your voice. If the directors see something, me putting out, and they go, that's not us. I go, okay, how do I make it us? And then they'll tell me, no, I've worked with the company long enough now that I have an idea of what should be going out. So that doesn't happen so much. But as an example, I'd send it to all of our directors, and if an Irish video was going out, all of our directors in Ireland would hear about it. If a UK video was going out, all of our directors in the UK would hear about it. Same in Germany, and they'll give a sign off on it before it goes out. So it's a staff-wide approach, but actually working on it full time, there'd be 3 of us. 2 mainly, but 3 as part of the team.
Amazing how much you're able to deliver with that. But it's fantastic.
Yeah, it can be stressful, that's the thing, but it's so much fun. I love it.
That's good. And actually, we'll probably just end on this. Anna had more of a comment, but to say it's a sort of a great opportunity for apprenticeships from the media, side of things, and organisations potentially considering taking those on. I suppose it shows just how vast and transferable skills are across archaeology, and drawing in people from other industries and sectors.
Yeah, absolutely. Apprenticeships would be a great way to do it. Like it's if you have people on your staff that are interested in it, great. But not everybody will have people on their staff that are interested in it. So apprenticeships will be a phenomenal way to get people involved, and they'll bring in a new, fresh take on it. I think the reason our outreach works so well is because I'm not an archaeologist. I know that sounds counterproductive, but if it's going to the public, it comes through a filter of somebody who isn't as knowledgeable about something. So if somebody who's an expert in their field is presenting something, it comes through the filter of me, a simpleton in the field, and I have to then translate that into something that people who aren't experts in it can understand. And I think that's super important in the know your audience section that we covered today, to make sure you know your audience. If it's for other archaeologists, great. If it's for the public, dumb it down is the wrong phrase, but you know what I mean. It needs to be exactly. Yeah. Generalize is the word.
I think it sounds like that's your superpower, having to read all of those reports and then translate them.
I just talk to people. That's my main thing, is talking to people.
Well, that's been absolutely fascinating. Thanks again, Luke. I mean,
thank you very much.
The questions and discussion have been just really interesting as well. And I'd just like to remind everybody that the session has been recorded, so that will appear once we've edited it in a few days, and you can watch it again and ask your colleagues to watch it. So there's some absolutely fantastic hints and tips and advice in there. And everybody, please do go and watch Red River's content, because that's fantastic. I follow it as well. So thank you ever so much, Luke, for joining us today. And
thanks for having me.